everybody. Welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Leaderboard.
Yes.
So this is one of the few games that I can recall from this period of time that the name of the sport is not featured in the actual title of the game. We frequently refer to this as Leaderboard Golf.
Yeah.
But the box and the actual legit title of this game is just Leaderboard.
That's all you need, man. That is all you need. Leaderboard. It sums it up perfectly. It doesn't tell you what the sport is even.
No, that's
It seems stupid.
It does.
Now that you mention it, you're right. What the hell were they thinking?
I don't know.
It could have been a leaderboard of anything.
Yeah. So this game is a golf simulation. Tell me about the last time that you played real, legitimate golf.
This may come as a shock to you, Boat, especially since you've just come back from a week at a monkey in retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But I, too, was a religious man in my younger days, and I was at a religious retreat at a place called Ogleby Park.
Okay.
In West Virginia. It's a resort, I believe. I don't know if it has this sort of religious affiliation, but they used to have a church camp there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were up there, and we rented clubs, and we went out onto the Ogleby Park golf course, which apparently is a nice course, I've been told. I carried out 5 golf balls and some rented clubs. Mm-hmm. And I think this was Aaron that was about 15.
Okay.
Lean, mean, killing machine.
You were at your peak, the peak of your...
Well, no, I'm at the peak now.
Okay.
But back then I was getting there.
You can have several peaks.
Oh, man.
You're like a mountain range.
I like my peaks and my freaks, Boat. Right? But anyways, I go out there. They got the 5 golf balls. And I played 4 holes, lost all my balls, and went home.
Walked off the course.
I did not have peaks or freaks at the end of that day. I felt like a complete dipstick. I couldn't hit nothing. And if you ever see me at the driving range, it's no good. It is. I don't know what it is. I don't have the technique. You know, people look at golf like golf. Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna watch that crap. Those dudes are athletes. They've got
yeah, they are.
There's technique in there, man. It's not just some dude is whacking a ball. You know, croquet. I could play that. The ball is bigger.
It is.
You know?
You've also got a bigger mallet, bigger hitting surface.
And the thing about a golf club is that they're not that big, and it's just hard to do it right.
Yeah.
Man. I have trouble just hitting the ball. And the technique of you hold that club high in the air and you come wheeling around.
The follow
that thing.
through.
Like who thought this up?
Well, there are these people called teachers that teach the game of golf, and you really have to take lessons to be any good at all. This is one thing from a lifetime of playing golf, and I'm still no good. It's because I've never ponied up the bucks to take lessons from a pro that could actually teach me how to play better.
Here's a bonus mystery fact. I know a kid who took many lessons. It's the Brent from ARG Presents. Yes, sir. He had many a golf lesson. In fact, I used to go up there with Mom and Dad, drop him off up in Nitro. It's one of the courses up there. And he would take golf lessons up there for I don't know how long. Now, as far as I know, Brent hasn't seen a golf course in many moons. So I suggest we go out sometime, me, you, and Brent, and have some sort of ARG/Amigos golf tournament of champions.
We should.
And I will bring 5 balls, and then I will meet you at the clubhouse. That's what will go going down.
The 19th hole, as it were.
I mean, I wish I was good at it. So that's what I like about video game golf. I used to hang out with a guy who was a semi-pro golfer in Lexington. He's a big old guy, and he could drive the ball great, but his short game needed work. And we would play, at the time we were playing Golden Tee 2.
Okay.
I was emulating it on my computer. I had a trackball.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd do the work. And I told him, and he would get so mad. I could beat him, and he'd be like, "Yeah, well, you couldn't do this on a real golf course." I was like, "Listen," this was developed by expert golfers. This is an exact representation of what would happen in a real course. Oh, he'd get furious. When are you going to come out and golf?
100% true.
And I would never go out to golf under any circumstances. It's a 0% chance.
You know, my big problem with golf is it's a long game. Even when you play 9 holes and when you're walking. I mean, you're exercising, and when you start doing bad and you start getting frustrated, I don't know if you know this, Aaron, but sometimes I get frustrated.
You?
I know it's hard to believe, and that's really when things go south, and that's when you think about doing the old over the knee into the lake.
Do you ever get mad on the golf course, so mad that you scream or throw stuff?
Oh, I've definitely thrown clubs before. I've thrown clubs. I've put clubs in the ground hard and bent them.
What would cause that? Just because you hit one in the drink or you missed a a putt? What's your hot button for golf?
It's when I start, because I always start off doing pretty well, okay? Like for me. And then as the round goes on, I'll start analyzing what I'm doing, and I'll be like, okay, well, am I turning just right? And then the more I think about it, the worse that I play.
It's a mental game.
It is.
This is reminds me of like the real world. Everyone has these little mental hang-ups. They got their own little thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll drive you nuts.
And so I keep doing worse and worse until I'm finally just hacking at it, just lining up, not addressing the ball at all, and just going. And then it goes into the woods, and I've got to chase after it, and I get frustrated. And then it's right to the cooler.
One thing about golf, there's another video game similarity. Golf is a lot like a point-and-click adventure, like a real tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would always hit my ball out in the middle of nowhere, and then you have to go hunting that thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's small.
It is. So it's a pixel hunt, for sure.
It's a pixel ball, and you're out in the woods. You're searching around with your club. That's sort of like the mouse pointer.
Right. That's very true.
Horrible.
That's very true.
It's a horrible, evil game.
When I play golf, I take anywhere between 20 and 40 balls with me.
Really?
I fill up.
But you don't use that many.
No, but I use more than 4. I can tell you that, playing 18 holes of golf. So especially depending on where you play, if you've got water, if you've got a lot of ravines, if you play over here at Deer Run over there in Fraser's Bottom, there's tons of places where you'll hit the ball.
That name never gets old.
And it'll go into a ravine, and that's it. You just pull another ball out. You don't go hunting for it. You'll never find it.
No, and some of these golf courses, if you hit the ball in the wrong parts, maybe it gets a little rough over there. You get mugged.
Yeah, that's true.
You fall in a crevasse.
There's no telling. Thousands of golfers are never seen again each year.
So with all that in mind, I like a good old-fashioned, old-timey game of computer or video game golf.
Well, you're going to love this week's game, Leaderboard.
It's old-timey, isn't it?
It is old-timey.
So, Leaderboard. Now, I was just talking
One word or two. What do you think?
I've seen it both ways.
I've seen it too. There's one word on the title screen, 2 words on the box.
That's right. I'm going to go with the box. We were talking before we came on just now about if we'd ever actually played the original Leaderboard, because in fact we did a show on World Class Leaderboard Golf for the Amiga.
Mm-hmm.
I guess sometime in the last couple years, who knows. And that one's the one that I really played the most of, was World Class Leaderboard Golf. Now, but you told me before the show that you had played this one way back.
Not only did I play the original Leaderboard Golf way back in the day, I actually have video footage of me playing this game back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, I have to find it. I've saved it somewhere on my computer. But this was a game my dad, after we had the Atari, my dad bought a new machine for work that was an XT, ATXT, whatever. And it had a hard drive with a bunch of stuff preloaded on it. And one of the games that launched from a shell was Leaderboard Golf. Another game was Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards. So that's where my first introduction to that game came from.
Oh, man.
And so
you got to find that footage. I want to see that.
But the things that I remember about Leaderboard Golf was that it was, even though we had a CGA card, it was the most colorful CGA game that I'd ever seen. I mean, it wasn't necessarily realistic color, but it was color. And the other thing that I remember is the drawing of the course slowly in. And that's
the one common thing with all these. You get that weird thing. Although, as I recall, on the Amiga, wasn't it like they covered that up, didn't they, until it was drawn?
Yeah, it was a weird thing they did on there.
So I'll have to say, this is the first time I've ever played the original Leaderboard Golf. I'd never played it before, so I was looking forward to this, actually. So this game came way back in 1986, and this was published by U.S. Gold, of course. And the people that did this were an outfit called Canvas. All right. Now, they did some pretty good. Now, listen to this. I just grabbed some of their stuff to talk about it. They did Airborne Ranger. They did Highlander, which I've heard nothing but bad things about.
I heard there can be only one.
There should be only one, according to what I've heard. This is my favorite of the bunch, Killed Until Dead.
We got to play that.
That's my favorite. Much like the song Killed by Death from Motorhead. Miami Vice, Road Runner, Street Sports Basketball, Super Cycle, Wizard Wars with a Z, so you know it's cool, World Championship Soccer. And then they also did Leaderboard Golf, of course, and World Class Leaderboard Golf. So they did some stuff. Then that's not all their stuff. That's some of the highlights. The people they have listed as working on this were a fellow named Roy Gibson, who, among other things, did the game Frankie Goes to Hollywood. which I've always wanted to try that.
There are so many great Spectrum games.
We could do this show till the end of time.
Yeah.
There's a fellow named Chris Pink. He did the Sci-Fi Trading Company, which is another game I've heard of. And this game keeps popping up, War in Middle Earth. I mean, it seems like we've heard about this game. Oh, it's
we have a copy of it. We have a copy for the Amstrad.
Ian Witherburn, he did a bunch of stuff here. Get some of these. Alchemist, Hunchback, Never-Ending Story, Nomad, Super Cycle, Zip Zap, a bunch of good stuff. And then one that caught my eye here was Simon Butler. And Simon Butler is, well, I'll get into him in a minute, but he did, amongst the things he's done lots. Batman, SimCity, Transformers, Target Renegade, Highlander was one of his. I've heard him say, he's not happy or proud of it. Legend of Cage. So Simon Butler is a commentator on a podcast called Retro Gaming Roundup, which is a sort of spun off of Shamar Monroe's old Retro Gaming Radio.
Is this the guy with SoCal Mike and all those guys?
Well, SoCal Mike is gone. He fortunately he got the boot, but due to the chameleon thing, some other stuff. But they've got Subaru Bratz on there, and
his name's Super Brat.
Subaru
Brat.
Yeah, that's his board name. I can't remember his real name, but I like the show. I listen all the time. But anyway, Simon does a thing on there called Dinosaur Pie, and it's about an hour of him just almost always ranting and bad-mouthing as many people as he could fit into an hour. Like, this guy's the original grumpy old guy. He just goes off. And it's funny because I've got mixed feelings on Simon because on the one hand, I do find his old guy rantings very similar to some things I think as an old guy, and fist shaking. But he has badmouth some buddies of mine, so I don't like. And occasionally he'll have a show like this last one where he got into a Facebook argument with a guy and just read all the thread and talked about what an idiot this guy was.
Well, this sounds like must-hear radio, let me tell you.
So, I mean, it is strangely interesting. It has to be. It's one of those things that's an acquired taste, or you have to be into it. But Simon also is a pretty accomplished graphics guy, so you can't take that away from him. So he worked on it, but he worked on this game. So I don't know what he did. I don't know if he did the intro screen, or I'm not sure if he did the actual golfer. I don't know what he did, but he was mentioned on here. So I thought we had first time we've crossed paths with Simon Butler. So of course this ran the 48K, and then you could also amongst the many things that are interesting was you could have 4 people playing in turn. So that's a sort of a staple of the series of Leaderboard. This came out at a original price of £9.99 or 95p. Not too bad. I guess that was the standard price for a lot of these things. So let's get to the nitty gritty here, Bode.
Okay.
This is your standard. I guess this sort of made the standard when it comes to golf games. This thing lets you pick a course and the number of holes, and you could actually, there are 4 courses that you can play in different orders. You can even, if you want to play all of the courses, it'll let you arrange them in the order you want just by typing in the number of the course, which is kind of neat. And this game pitches you as a golfer. You're out there and you've got a selection of clubs. You're trying to get the ball in the hole. It's golf. This thing does something that you see all the time now that we mentioned, which is as you stand there, the screen draws towards you,
right,
in a very odd way. It's something you don't ever see now. But it was, and that's, you do see that occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you see the outlines of the shapes and then they fill in towards you.
Yeah. This game is one of the original golf meter games, which is the deal where you hold a button as a meter rises to affect your power, then you let the button go. As the meter falls, you hit it again to keep your shot straight, as opposed to hooking it, or whatnot. And that's pretty much the long and short of it.
Now you're playing against the backdrop of what appears to be a Arizona mesa.
It looks like an irradiated moonscape.
Right.
It depends on where you're playing, how weird the screen looks.
Yeah, but it never looks quite normal.
No, this game is violently hampered by a limited amount of colors. The most obvious affected part of the game is the golfer himself, who is a straight color of blue I think he's always blue. I don't think I ever saw him in any other color.
He's all blue.
Ain't these tears in his eyes telling you, Boat? But the game itself. Well, just before we get into the actual meat of it, what did you think of your initial view of this thing?
Well, I think we've talked about before. I'm a big fan of the Leaderboard series.
Yeah.
I think that the way that they do the meter is challenging but fair. I think it's very consistent. I like the putting mechanics in the Leaderboard series. It's not too difficult. You can kind of get a feel for what's going on. I thought that the game, your golfer, even though he's a monocolor, I mean, don't hold it against him. He's well animated. It's not like it's like jerk, jerk. I mean, you see him draw back and you see him come forward.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of good to say about this game. We always have to think about, the limitations of the system.
Yeah.
There are a couple things that I think that they could have done better.
Okay.
One is that they could have changed the landscape, the moonscape as you call it, depending on the course that you're playing. They could have done something different. The Spectrum has enough colors where they could have done something besides that mountainous color.
Yeah, they're pretty much all they look exactly the same.
Yeah. So that's my first thing I wish they changed. Another thing I wish they changed is naming the courses.
Yeah, they have no name.
They could have come up with Pebblestone. They could have either used real course names or come up with funny ones. That would have given the game a lot more personality.
Think about it. He played in the desert on a course with no name.
Oh,
bam!
That's a callback to
Bam. Double Trouble.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, the last thing, and this is something that you wouldn't see in golf games until much later, but there's no reason why they couldn't have put it in this game, is they give you the yardage to the hole.
Yeah.
They could have easily added another row that gave you the max yardage of your club.
I will say I looked at the docs for this, and
they're in the docs.
There's a little gimmick that shows you, but there's nothing. This is a lot like we've talked about this before. Sometimes they just can't get it in there, and I'm guessing this is one of those times where there's. I mean, I think that anytime you play a game that doesn't tell you the distance of your club, you're sort of now. Luckily, I've played enough of these where I've got a pretty good idea, but not always. And but yeah, you're right. I agree with that wholeheartedly. One thing that I found rather baffling, and I'm guessing this wasn't like this on the other. Again, I've not played this original Leaderboard, but apparently these golf courses, this is the most wet desert in the history of man, because you are playing in like a swamp. I mean, whoever put this course together was a diabolical fiend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, you're playing on a small, tiny island. Sometimes your guy stands at his little tiny island to play the course. Now, one would assume that they went this flooded valley route because it was what the graphics system would allow, as opposed to having slopes or hills or whatnot.
Your hazards are limited by your color palette and by the limitations of the system. It's easy to do water because the water's flat.
I mean, this is like if like Waterworld found that island they were looking for, and they were like, put a golf course on it. It's like, well, we don't have much to work with.
That's very true.
So you will get a lot of water penalties. I mean, it's penalty a mania running wild. So we can sort of pick fun at the graphics, and we can pick fun at the fact that it looks like things are nuclear and your guy's blue, all this stuff, and it's easy. It's fun too. But when it comes down to the heart of what makes Leaderboard work, it's still there. You've got that meter that works great. They give you plenty of control options, and you still have.
You can name your character.
Yeah, you have precision control. You've got multiplayer, and again, look, you've got all the information you need. You've got wind. Now, putting is an adventure unto itself. It doesn't hold your hand.
But it's not. I felt like it's not an exact science, but it shouldn't be.
Right. Well, I mean, there are other games have done it better, or at least attempted to give you. I mean, these putting greens are they're all either flat. They're all flat, but they're at some angle.
You're right.
And that's it. There's no like divots or little.
No,
there's no little. I mean, it's either once you account for the slope of the green, you're okay.
Right.
So they don't. So really, it's not necessary to have, say, a grid pattern down, but it's something we got used to going forward.
Yeah.
Sound effects were what you would expect on the Spectrum. I love that line, so I'm going to use it.
I muted this game almost immediately when I was playing it.
Well, I mean, it's not too much to it.
Well, it's just like, that whenever the screen redraw or whenever you complete a hole, there's just a questionable sound involved. The actual sound of hitting the ball is not bad.
Let's talk about the screen draw. In between holes, and that's not true. In between shots, every time the screen will completely redraw from scratch, and that means if you accidentally, and I did this many times, forget to switch clubs, and you screw up and you put it in the water, or you accidentally let go of the button too early and the ball goes about an inch, or you hit the ball as hard as a man can and it goes completely in the sun. It's redrawing every single time.
Now, I will say this. This game is preferable to some of the other games that I've played on both the classic Mac and the Amiga, where instead of having the cursor that you aim, you're rotating your man, and then each time you rotate your man 1 fraction of an inch, the screen will redraw, and that's no good either.
Yeah, they obviously they thought about that because oh God, can you imagine? I don't like that either. Yeah. This game lets you line up your shots with a little marker, and then you fire that sucker. I mean, it's the one thing me and you both like when it comes to these games. It's simplicity.
Absolutely.
Listen, what's your favorite game? Neo Turf Masters.
That's right. That was the pinnacle of the simple golf game.
And this is like this is pretty much the same exact thing. You've got the little meter. It works exactly the same way. This doesn't have the charisma or the graphics or the sound or anything of Neo Turf Masters, but the gameplay is exactly the same. And I got nothing bad to say about it. Now, if you play this, prepare to be patient. That's the one thing that can't be avoided. Again, thinking about when this game was released, thinking about what it was released on, the abilities of the machine, it's quite remarkable to have this many courses and this much of a challenge in the game and have the gameplay be this good. But there's nothing you can do about that draw. It takes a long time. Right. And you're going to go in the water a ton. If that ball is 1 pixel in that water, you're in. The first hole I played, I must have hit the ball 15 times. It took me a while to get to the point where I could understand how everything works, but I think it's a fair game. The clubs seem fair. I didn't feel like I was getting ripped off or cheated, and I also thought that the different skill levels were well represented.
I didn't mess around with that. So what?
It's just like novice, amateur, and pro.
Right, but I mean, what changes when you do that?
If you play at the very basic level, you basically can't hook or slice the ball.
Okay.
And then, of course, the next level you can, and as you go up, the wind will affect your shots as well.
Okay.
I personally, I played at the beginner level and amateur level. I didn't go to the pro. I did try it, but I mean, I knew it was going to be tough. But I mean, I think it's a fair game, and if you've ever played any of the Leaderboard series, you can step right up and play it, and you won't have any trouble, in my opinion. So this game was reviewed pretty well. In fact, some people had real glowing. I read some of the reviews; they were very glowing reviews. I mean, this was a very highly, sort of like the tennis game we covered at the time. It was very highly thought of.
This game was probably, if not the first, one of the first to give you a behind-the-back perspective. This wasn't your top-down Atari 2600 style golf. Yeah, which was a quantum leap in quality.
And that's the way it had been done going up to that point. Right. So World of Spectrum, the scores by their users 8.22, very respectable score, very high. Crash gave this an 80%, and Sinclair user gave this 5 out of 5. That's how impressed they were. They were real impressed. And I can see how, I mean, there's a lot of avid golfers out there, and this is the kind of thing you can get into.
Absolutely. Rainy days and on the winter.
That's right. I looked this thing up on the eBay, and you can get the original Leaderboard all day long for $3 or $4. Wow. So if you want the tape is yours. Now, I printed out this handy-dandy second sheet. I don't know what the heck happened. I don't think there was anything on it, so there you go. But listen, I'm never going to be like, it takes a really bad golf game for me to not like it. And this is a totally competent play. It's just like playing any world-class leaderboard or anything else. They never monkeyed with that too much, and it always worked.
Yeah.
That meter was a stroke of genius.
We got some Discord community reviews. Chris Fold says, the island hopping golf game was the first golf game I ever played. Not immediately accessible, but once you get the hang of it, the controls, it's a fun game of dodge the puddle. Yeah. Absolutely. A bit basic on novice level. Put the ball straight every time. It has a surprising amount of depth with 4 full courses to keep you entertained. When I bought this for £2.99 back in the day, it was an amazing value for the money. Dated by today's standards, amazing and 86 though. 7 out of 10. Yep. Graham Vebke says, I've played this game so many times on other systems and I was quite surprised by how well this game plays on the ZX Spectrum. But my main issue is, why does this game only use green and blue? Golf really needs a white ball. The flag could have also been white, but perhaps there was some technical reason why they couldn't do this.
Yeah.
It's a real shame because it plays as well as the other versions, with the swing meter and controls being game-changing for all future golf games. Make sure you at least play this game on amateur mode too. 7 out of 10. And finally, Pixels at Dawn says, even now, I associate golf games with the iconic slow screen draw of Leaderboard. There have been many golf games before this, but to me, this is the granddaddy. It's not going to blow anyone away with the gameplay and course design, but it works well, it has its own distinctive look, and is just fun. What more do you need? 7 out of 10. Yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm, yeah. Actually, I'd put this in the 8. This is a solid 8.
I thought at 7 or 8 would be, it's jarring coming from the other ones in some ways, and the color situation that Graham talked about, that's true. Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming that's a system limitation, and frankly, it plays just exactly like all the other ones. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I do want to give a shout out to all the people that joined us live. We record this show every Friday, except when we don't, which is today. We're recording on Sunday, and next week, who knows when we're going to record, because the Meathon is coming up. But I want to thank Ricky DeRocher, Sox McCoy, Jan Holbo Rasmussen, Retro Man Cave, Stefano Pavano, Edvin Hilland, Pixels at Dawn, Barry Scott, Retro Man Cave, Steve Rasmussen. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us in the chat. We really appreciate it, and we also really appreciate our supporters. You can support Our Sinclair at patreon.com/Our Sinclair, just like these guys: Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonot, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Paul Bossman Harrington, and Christopher Hassall. Thank you guys for supporting Our Sinclair.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next week, Aaron, we are going to play a Tick Attack.
A Tick Attack?
Yeah, you know anything about a Tick Attack?
I've never heard of that.
All right.
Another wacky one sounds like.
I'll leave it up to your imagination until you play it. Guys, thanks for watching. Until next week, rewind tape
and press play.